We're launching into one of the most transformative eras in history, but we're not talking about kings or wars. We're talking about sound.
Exactly.
We're going deep into about 350 years of music, from 1400 all the way to 1750. This is really where music starts to sound like the classical music we actually recognize today.
It's a total sonic revolution. I mean, this early modern period is where composers finally abandoned the extremely strict, almost formulaic rules of the Middle Ages.
So they stopped just serving the religious text.
Right. They started exploring human possibility. The whole point of music changed. It moved from, an obligation to this intense personal expression.
And that's really the mission here. We want to grasp how that shift happened across two huge eras, the Renaissance and then the Baroque. And critically, how technology didn't just support this change, it actually sped it up.
So let's start with the first part, the Renaissance, roughly 1400 to 1600.
Okay. What's the core concept?
The defining idea, technically speaking, is the move toward a really rich, layered harmony. And this happens through something called polyphony.
Polyphony. That sounds academic, but the idea is actually pretty simple, right?
It is. Instead of everyone just singing one single tune, polyphony means you have multiple independent melodies all happening at the same time.
So it's like a musical conversation.
Exactly. Picture a quartet where each singer has their own complete melody, but they all weave together perfectly. It takes incredible skill to write.
And this is when music starts moving out of the church and into the home.
For sure. Instruments like the lute, which is basically an early guitar, and the first harpsichords, they become common in royal courts. It's a huge signal that music is now entertainment, not just worship.
And the why behind all this is a movement called humanism.
Yes. Humanism put this huge importance on human thoughts and feelings. So composers thought, hey, music is the perfect tool for this. They wanted to make people feel specific emotions, joy, sadness, awe.
Which leads directly to a technique called word painting.
My favorite. It's so direct. Word painting is where the music literally reflects the meaning of the words.
Give us an example.
Okay, so if the choir sings about running quickly down the mountain, the melody will literally tumble downwards with fast notes.
And if it's eternal peace?
The music gets slow, sustained, with these really calm, beautiful harmonies. It makes the story audible, even if you don't catch every single word.
It makes it personal. It's a connection we still look for in, I don't know, a movie score or a pop song.
Absolutely. Now, even with all this personal expression, you have to remember, religion was still the main employer. Most professional composers worked for the church.
Right, writing for Sunday services. And a lot of this music was a cappella.
Meaning voices only, no instruments.
What's so amazing to me is the challenge of that. I mean, they're singing in these massive stone cathedrals. The acoustics must have been a nightmare.
Or a feature. They had to be acoustic engineers. The echo in some of those cathedrals could last for 5, maybe 6 seconds.
Wow.
So composers had to write music for the building. They'd write pauses and harmonies that actually used the echo. If they wrote chords that were too complex, the notes would just smear into mud.
So the architecture was actually dictating the art form.
In a huge way.
Mm-hmm.
But outside those sacred walls, music for fun and socializing secular music was just exploding.
And the star of that world was the madrigal.
It was. Madrigals were these intricate songs for small groups of singers. They'd tell stories about love or nature or mythology. And unlike the slow church music, they were often really fast and rhythmic.
So you can picture people maybe after dinner pulling out a book of music and just singing together.
Totally. They'd use instruments like the recorder or the viol, which is kind of like an early cello. And here's the thing. Being able to read music and sing your part was a sign of a good education.
It showed you were cultivated, a social skill.
It was a social ritual. But all this new music, whether it was for church or for fun, it needed a way to travel.
And this is where the technology comes in, the printing press. Before that, music was basically locked down.
It was. Every single sheet of music had to be copied by hand. By hand. So it was incredibly expensive and rare. Only the church or the super wealthy could afford it.
But then music printing shows up in the late 1400s.
And suddenly, music becomes cheap, standardized, accessible.
It was the internet of the 15th century for music.
That's the perfect analogy. A new style from a composer in Italy could be bought and played by someone in England just, weeks later. It spread ideas so fast.
And it forced them to standardize how they wrote things down.
It had to. If you want everyone to play your piece the right way, you need symbols for rhythm and pitch that mean the same thing everywhere.
Speaking of standards, instrument quality was also taking a huge leap forward.
Oh, absolutely. You had craftspeople in Italy and Germany competing to make the best instruments. This is when we get the basic designs for the modern violin, viola, and cello.
But the keyboard instrument that really defined this transition was the harpsichord.
Yes, that's the one where the strings are plucked, not hammered like a piano.
Right, it has that bright, kind of sharp jingling sound.
Exactly. And the harpsichord became vital for something called basso continuo. This is really the bridge between the Renaissance and the Baroque.
Okay, break that down.
The basso continuo was basically the rhythm section. It was usually a harpsichord and a cello, providing the harmonic foundation, the glue holding it all together. It meant the melody on top could be way more free and expressive.
So we've got the groundwork. We have expression, technology, and a solid rhythm. So what happens after 1600?
Well, after 1600, everything gets cranked up. We enter the Baroque period, from 1600 to 1750.
And if the Renaissance was about smooth, blended harmony.
The Baroque was about contrast, ornament, and high drama. The word Baroque itself means like highly decorated, even flamboyant.
So how does that sound musically?
It sounds like big, deliberate contrasts between loud and quiet. We call them dynamics.
So not a gradual crescendo, but sudden shifts.
Exactly. You'd hear a tiny little solo section played very softly, and then bam, the entire orchestra comes in with this huge booming sound. It's called terraced dynamics, and the beat becomes much more steady and driving.
And this need for drama led to whole new ways of structuring music.
It did. The Baroque era invented the concerto, where you have a single soloist, like a violin, playing against the whole orchestra.
A musical showdown.
Kind of. And it also standardized the sonata, which was usually for a smaller group of instruments, like an intricate conversation.
But the invention that really captured the spirit of the whole era was opera.
Opera. Born in Italy,
Opera.
right around 1600, it was such a radical idea. A whole play where the actors sing every single line.
I mean, the spectacle must have been incredible. The first ones were based on Greek myths, right?
Yes, big stories about heroes and gods and fate. And they used enormous stage sets, incredible costumes. It was this massive combination of music, acting, and visual art.
So this wasn't just for nobles in a private court anymore.
Not for long. Special opera houses were built, and eventually they started selling tickets to the public. It was really the first form of mass entertainment based on serious art.
So we've gone from singing madrigals in a living room to these huge public spectacles. What about dancing? That was still a big part of social life.
Huge. But it also got more formal. Composers would write collections of dance music called suites.
Which are groups of pieces based on specific dance rhythms.
Right, like the slow, graceful minuet or the really fast, lively gig.
And these weren't always for actual dancing, were they?
Not always. Sometimes they were just for listening. And that's the key thing. These dance rhythms, which started as, fun music for balls, eventually got woven into the most serious symphonies and concertos.
Yeah.
It shows how popular culture always influences high art.
This era is also defined by a few absolute giants. We mentioned the early opera master Monteverdi, but the late Baroque. That's where we get the household names.
The big three: Antonio Vivaldi, George Friedrich Handel, and maybe the most towering figure of them all, Johann Sebastian Bach.
Let's start with Bach. His music is often described as almost math-like. Why is that?
Bach was the ultimate master of counterpoint, which is that super complex art of weaving melodies together. He perfected the fugue.
And a fugue is like a musical chase?
It's like a musical relay race. One voice starts with the main theme, then another voice comes in with the same theme at a different pitch, and then another, and they all start chasing and weaving around each other. It's incredibly intricate.
And Vivaldi. We all know the Four Seasons.
Vivaldi was a violin genius. They called him the Red Priest because of his red hair. He wrote hundreds of concertos designed to show off what a soloist could do. And the Four Seasons is famous because it's word painting without words.
He's painting a scene just with instruments.
Yeah, you can hear the buzzing flies in summer or the shivering ice in winter. It was pushing the boundaries of musical storytelling.
And then there's Handel. He was more of an entrepreneur, wasn't he?
Handel was a showman. He knew his audience. He wrote these grand Italian operas. But when public taste changed, he pivoted and basically invented the English oratorio, these huge religious stories like Messiah, performed in concert halls. He was an international star, moving around Europe to find the best gigs.
And none of their fame would have been possible without that universal musical language we talked about.
Not at all. During the Baroque, music theory became much more scientific. The five-line staff you see in music class today, that became the absolute standard.
So a composer could finally give exact instructions.
Precisely. They started using specific symbols for how fast to play, the tempo, or how loud the dynamics.
That's the real legacy, then. Standardization.
It meant that a piece written by Handel in London could be played perfectly by a musician in, say, a new American colony years later, exactly as he intended. Those rules are still the foundation of music education today.
So when we wrap all this up, what does this 350-year journey mean for us now?
It means the sounds of our world are built on these foundations. The core of a symphony, orchestra violins, cellos, flutes, those instruments were perfected then. And the harmonic patterns from Bach, they're still the DNA in a lot of pop songs.
And we hear echoes of the Baroque all the time, even if we don't realize it, when you watch a movie or play a video game set in the past.
That music used to create drama or a sense of history is almost always in that Baroque style. It's just the sound of high emotion and structure.
It's incredible, the ability of these composers, pushed by new ideas and helped by new technology, to take music from simple chant to this complex emotional art form.
It's why we're still listening hundreds of years later. It connects us to them.
The true legacy isn't really the names or the dates, is it? It's the discovery that organized sound could perfectly capture the deepest parts of the human heart, from a simple, sad song to the massive joy of a Bach fugue.
Well said.
See you next time.